So let's just bring you right up to date with what we do know and what we don't know so far. We have confirmation from a few eyewitnesses that I've spoken to in the last couple of hours that an attacker did rush onto the stage, we think from behind the stage, just as he was being introduced, and appeared to stab Salman Rushdie repeatedly. Police in New York State confirming that there does appear to be an apparent stab wound to the neck. He was flown by helicopter to hospital, but that, I'm afraid, is as much as we know. We do not have an update on his condition at the moment. We believe the alleged attacker was held, apprehended by police immediately there in New York State and is in custody, but no update so far on the condition of Salman Rushdie. That's it. I'm Lewis Vaughan-Jones. This is BBC News. We'll be back in half an hour.
BBC World News, the biggest African and international news stories. Focus on Africa.
This is Focus on Africa. I'm Lukwesa, Burak. Our top stories today. The so-called Islamic State has claimed it was behind the 9th of August attack on a prison in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, in which hundreds of inmates escaped. In Kenya, the Election Commission is yet to announce a winner. Also in the programme, as Africa's population is expected to double by 2050, scarcity of land becomes a major problem. Hello and welcome to Focus on Africa, coming to you from BBC World News. And our top story today is concerning events in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The so-called Islamic State has claimed that it was behind the attack on August the 9th on a prison in the east of the country, where, according to local media, more than 800 inmates escaped. So far, 250 have reportedly been captured. An army spokesperson told the BBC that 80 armed attackers overpowered 15 police officers guarding the central prison. And in the latest development earlier today, 5 police officers were killed in protests as public frustration grew over the mass prison break. Our correspondent, Emery Magumeno, has more from Kinshasa. Well, Kenya has voted, the count continues, and indications are that no declaration will be made today, while my colleague Sophie Kenya is on the ground in Kenya. Sophie.
Well, thanks, Lukwesa. It has indeed been a tight race between the two leading candidates. That's the outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta, who served his mandated 2 terms and will be replaced by either Deputy President William Ruto or former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Counting has been going on at the National Tallying Center, and the nation has been glued to their TV sets and their radios all across the country, anxiously waiting for updates. Our Deputy Africa editor, and so is there with the latest. So still a long way to go. Stella Agara, thank you so much for taking time to speak to us on this program. Thank you.
Anytime, Megan.
Now, well, the wait continues here in Kenya. Remember, you can head to the BBC website and follow all the news as it unfolds in the next few days. Lukwesa, back to you in London.
Sophie, thank you very much. Thank you. In Sierra Leone, parts of the capital, Freetown, and at least 2 other towns have experienced what's been described as the most horrific violence. At least 5 people, police officers and a number of civilians, were killed in the unrest on Thursday. Police stations and public buses were also burnt down, while the President, Julius Maada Bio, spoke to the BBC earlier. Now, as the US fiercely debates abortion rights, one EU country is reviewing its own strict rules. The Mediterranean island nation of Malta has banned abortion in all circumstances. Women who have the procedure could face up to 3 years in jail, and for doctors who perform them, imprisonment of up to 4 years and a removal of their medical licence. Whilst it's been many years since anyone has faced criminal charges in this predominantly Catholic country, pro-choice activists say the law, which dates back to the 1850s, is increasingly at odds with modern reality. The BBC's Jessica Parker has a report. Well, the BBC did approach the Maltese Minister for Health for an interview, but we have so far received no response. OK, a quick look at some of the other stories making the headlines now. And a court in South Africa has granted bail to 22 people accused of instigating deadly riots in the country. Last year, the charges relate to looting and public violence that took place in parts of KwaZulu-Natal. About 350 people were killed in the unrest that erupted after the former President Jacob Zuma was jailed for contempt of court. Amongst the bail conditions was a warning not to post any information about the case on social media. Ethiopia has announced that the reservoir at its controversial dam on the Blue Nile has been filled for a third time. The Prime Minister says water levels have now risen to 600 metres. The $4 billion project has raised tensions between Addis and the governments of Egypt and Sudan, which depend heavily on the Nile for their water supplies. Well, still to come, Africa's population problem as space for housing diminishes. Now, Africa's population is expected to double by 2050, making up more than a quarter of the world's people, and housing is already a challenge. Now, in the capital, Congo-Brazzaville, the growing population means land is becoming scarce, so people are moving into the hills to build homes on inexpensive tracts of land. But that construction, along with the country's heavy rainfall, is eroding the soil, creating dangerous ravines, putting homes and lives at risk. The BBC's Nick Lomas reports from Brazzaville. Hundreds of firefighters from at least 7 other EU countries are joining efforts to combat a huge wildfire in the Gironde region of southwestern France. Italy, Greece and Sweden have all sent water bombing planes. The fires have spread even more quickly than the ones that hit the area in July. The UN has warned that high temperatures are likely to become more common across northern Europe, and a more coordinated effort is needed to slow down the rate of global warming. Azadeh Moshiri reports. Well, that is it for today here on Focus on Africa. But just to remind you, of course, that it's been a big week in Kenya, and Kenya is waiting, the continent is waiting as well for those results, normally delivered within 7 days if they don't achieve at least 50%, as well as 24 to 26 of the 47 counties. Then we're off to a runoff. So we will be back with you on Monday with all the latest. In the meantime, keep up to date on the Africa Live webpage. From myself and the team, bye-bye.
Hello there. After 67 days of no rain, Dallas, Texas had some